Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Thank you guys for joining the Big 12 Insiders. We appreciate it. Another good weekend of college basketball within the Big 12. Had some upsets, had a really good game, and then, in my opinion, had the game of the weekend in all of college basketball, all of that within inside the Big 12. We're going to give you the roundup on exactly what happened within the conference, so make sure you stick around. And again, as always like, follow, subscribe, get in those comments section, and hit the notification bell so you know exactly when Big 12 Insiders content comes out. So appreciate you guys joining us today, man. Let's get into this. So like I said, there are some really good basketball games that happened this weekend. Here's another one, Iowa State at Arizona State. Now, first glance, you're going to look at the final score and say 76-61. Oh, Iowa State whipped them. And no, that is not the case. Look, Iowa State's a really good team. You know how I feel about them. I think they're one of the best teams in the country, but with 5 minutes to go, this is a 3-point game. It was nip and tuck. But Iowa State, as they do, they clamped down defensively. Arizona State scored 3 points the rest of the way, and that'll do it. You know, when you get a team that you can hold scoreless for the majority of 5 minutes. Like I said, they scored 3 points, one shot they made. Other than that, that's all they got. Iowa State ends up pulling away. Arizona State, I thought this was a real opportunity for them. I thought it was a real opportunity. It'd been up and down, up and down. You get Iowa State coming to your place on a Saturday, but they just weren't able to make the plays. But here's the thing. Iowa State is just that daggone good, man. I mean, what are you going to say? Curtis Jones, 33 points. They just made the play. They're just a tougher team. And that's no knock against Arizona State. That just, I think, to me, is more of a testament of how good Iowa State actually is. I think it's just a testament to that. If you watch that game at all, it was back and forth. It really was. There was, you know, like I said, you look at the final score and you think, oh, man, you got away in the last 5 minutes. Now, I'm a proponent. The game is 40 minutes. So, you know, even if they get away late, I understand. But if you watched the game, you would understand. This is not a game where Iowa State got out to a big lead and then Arizona State made it close at the end, and then they got away again. No, that's not what happened in this game. So really good basketball, though. Really good basketball. But the one thing that kind of stood out to me, if I'm looking at this correctly, and it is Iowa State, the defense, like I said, in the last minutes, but I don't know, 30 times to the free throw line. A lot of that late, I get it, but you can't put a team on the road, a team as quality as Iowa State is on the free throw line that many times and think you're going to win. That's just not going to happen. And it didn't. But give credit to Iowa State going on the road in a tough environment and going and winning a game. Arizona, they go on the road and beat Colorado 63. They took control with about, what'd you say, maybe 8-9 minutes for you that watched the game. Again, I watched that game. They took control, and they were never really threatened the rest of the way. It was just, look, Arizona lost some games early. And I think a lot of people just said, you know, because they lost 5 games, you know, early on in the season. I think people just kind of wrote them off and said, well, they're not going to be that good this year. I was one of those people from the outside looking in thinking, man, I thought Arizona was going to be better. Getting the conference play, they played pretty well. They lost the game at Tech. I get that. Tech's good. But I think Arizona may have figured some things out here. We're going to find out pretty quickly, though, how good Arizona actually is. It's kind of why I put these two games together, because tonight, people, Iowa State goes to Arizona. And I think this is going to be a hell of a basketball game. It's going to be a crazy environment for Big 12 fans that don't know what it's like to play in Tucson. Get ready, buckle up, because you're in for a treat. I almost wish the late Bill Walton was still around for him to be able to call this game. And I know there's a lot of people that don't like Bill Walton. I used to love Bill Walton. I thought he was hilarious. First of all, he knew basketball. But just some of the things that he said, it just cracked me up. I mean, you didn't take Bill seriously, but he did know what he was talking about, man. But either way, I think it's going to be a hell of a basketball game tonight. I really do. Like I said, Arizona kind of does yeoman's work at Colorado. Colorado, man. And there's a lot of people that didn't think they were going to be very good. I think that was fool's gold. Clearly, we're seeing it. That win over UConn early in the season. They won the game, so you can't take that away from them. But they're still winless in the conference. The power rankings are going to show that when we do those next. Just not a good look for Colorado right now. And I'm not sure they get out of this rut anytime soon, to be honest with you. Their coach is good. I like Tad Boyle a lot. But I think a lot of people knew they were going to struggle this year, and they are. And so, but I like Arizona. They may have gotten it figured out. Cannot wait for the game tonight with Iowa State. It's also another chance for people maybe on the West Coast that haven't seen Iowa State. It's just another opportunity for the conference to take a big step forward, So huge game on Monday. Speaking of huge games, and not necessarily as the matchup was concerned, but UCF just blows the doors off of TCU. I mean, 85-58, and this game, look, UCF is in the tournament right now. I know it's a little early to bubble watch, but if you do, 9 teams from the Big 12 are in. UCF is one of those teams, and heck, they're not even one of the teams that's last in the tournament. Like they're not that they're in. They're firmly in. Now, I don't know how firm maybe a 11 seed is, but yeah, when you go look at it, they're not one of the last teams in this tournament, man. They're not, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. And this game may have gone a long way to say that because, look, UCF is pretty good at home. I'm not saying they beat, but we saw what they did to Houston last week. I mean, they were 3 seconds from winning that basketball game, and then TCU comes to town, and TCU trying to get off the snide a little bit here, and they get the doors blown off of them. I mean, just absolutely smoked. Keyshawn Hall, look, goes to the line 11 to 13 times, has 26 points and 8 rebounds. UCF, look, they lost 2 straight, but they lost 2 straight to the elite teams in this conference. Now, they got crushed at Iowa State. They did. But again, maybe that was some emotional after a game. They felt like they had the Houston game won, and then maybe they gave it away. I look at it more as Houston took the game from them, which is okay, but a lot of emotions going on there. Then you got to go to Iowa State. Then your next time out, it wasn't going to go well. Iowa State was also coming off of a loss where they shot horribly from the field. It was just a recipe for disaster. They come back home, and they really put the screws to TCU. Look, TCU's lost 3 of 4. I don't know. They got a trip to Tech coming up next. This might be the end of TCU's hopes of trying to make the tournament. They got to go on a run here to even get close, in my opinion. Next up, we got Baylor. Look, Baylor might be hitting their stride. They go to Utah and win 76-61. And I don't know. Maybe Baylor heard me talking about them, saying they were one of the teams that was supposed to be good at the beginning of the year, have fallen on some hard times and may not make the tournament. Maybe they heard that or not. Now, they won the last 2. I'm not saying they've beat world beaters, Kansas State and Utah, but it's tough to win anywhere on the road in this conference. And for them to go to Utah and to put that kind of beat down on Utah, I just, maybe Baylor just needed to see themselves win a couple of games to get back on track. Look, injuries have been a part of what Baylor's done or had to go through, I should say. So that's part of it. But maybe they just need kind of like a shooter that's in a shooting slump. And then all of a sudden he makes a layup. Then he makes a 12-footer. And then he makes a 3. And then next thing you know, he's on fire. Maybe that's what Baylor needed just to win a couple of games while not against the best competition. Doesn't matter. Just need to win the games. And now we can start going against some competition and get things rolling. This might be just what Baylor needs. I'm a little disappointed in Utah, though. I thought Utah would put up a bigger fight than this, especially at home. But when you lose the rebounding battle to Baylor at home, you're not going to win. You're not going to win. And that happened. I just thought they'd put up more of a fight. But congratulations to Baylor. Like I said, they might be getting things going back in the right direction. So, Look, biggest surprise of the weekend, Kansas State winning at West Virginia. Or winning at home, I should say, against West Virginia. I didn't see this one coming. Kansas State had lost 6 in a row. The only positive that you could even bring up with Kansas State is that for 30 minutes, the last time that they played at Baylor, they put up a fight and looked like a team that could compete. But then the last 10 minutes, they looked like the team that we've seen basically all season that had no fight, no offense, no structure, no anything. And then Baylor comes back and wins the game going away. Well, that didn't happen in this game at all. I mean, by the first timeout, the first TV timeout, this game was over. I mean, West Virginia never threatened. Think about that for a second. They never threatened. They were getting the doors blown off. It was 42-18 at halftime, for crying out loud. And they got it close to, and when I say close, I think it was 13. They got it down to 13 in the second half, but no real game pressure on Kansas State in this game. They got out, they got a lead, and they cruised to victory. They just did. I did not see this coming at all. But like I said, Kansas State is a team with a collection of decent players, of good players. Okay, no superstars by any stretch. They're a collection of good players. And every now and then, when things aren't going right, you'll get things to go right because you have some good players. And every now and then, you'll win despite yourself. And I think this is one of those cases. Now, maybe K-State can turn this thing around and say, you know what, if we play with this type of effort all the way through the game and with this kind of consistency and this kind of execution throughout the basketball game, then maybe we can turn some things around. But it's got to be a 40-minute effort for Kansas State because, quite frankly, they're not talented enough to slack off for 5 minutes here, a 3-minute stretch of nothing here, then go, because all good teams go through that with really talented players. But when you don't have the most talented players, those 4 minutes turn to 8. Those 6 minutes turn to 9. And then all of a sudden, where you're playing and the game is close, next thing you know, you're down 10 and you can't catch back up. So hopefully Kansas State has learned that they've got to sustain this type of effort and execution throughout the basketball game and focus. And hopefully they can turn this thing around. Like I said, they had lost 6 straight. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is what they needed to kickstart a second half of competitive basketball. And I think that's what Kansas State fans are looking for at this point, just some competitive basketball. The one thing that I would say is West Virginia's lost 3 of 4. In the middle of all that, they had that huge upset to Iowa State. Is that the fluke, though? And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I still believe West Virginia is a pretty good basketball team. Again, the injury bug has hit them, but you got to be better than Kansas State, or you should be. But the old adage, it's tough to win on the road in the conference, and especially in the Big 12. It's tough to win on the road, man. And they went on the road, and they got beat by a team that, by all intents and purposes, West Virginia is a better basketball team than Kansas State. They just are. But you don't do things correctly. You don't shoot it particularly well, and then you put yourself in such a hole that you can't dig out of. This is what can happen in a conference like this. That's what happened to West Virginia. Like I said, they've lost 3 or 4. They got to get this thing going back in the right direction. BYU. BYU embarrasses Cincinnati 80-52. I can't get Cincinnati right. Look, in football, I picked them to be dead last. That was some bias because I don't like their head coach, but they were much better than dead last. This year in basketball, I'm like, you know what? Cincinnati's going to be a pretty good basketball team, and they're awful. I can't get UC right, man. I just can't get them right. I apologize. Either way, I want to give the credit to BYU for just, the game was fairly close in the first half. Second half, they just come out and say, that's enough. We're better than you. We're going to prove that we're better than you. And in my estimation, and I think Cincinnati fans would agree with me, I think UC quit. That's embarrassing. And that's on the coaching staff. If you got a team that's out there and they're quitting on the floor, then what are we doing? And that's what it looked like. And I don't want to take anything away from BYU, because if I'm saying that Cincy quit, that means that BYU had nothing to do with it. No, it doesn't mean that. I think BYU had everything to do with that. When teams quit, they just don't quit because nothing bad is happening to them. They quit because somebody is pounding their head in, and then they're like, okay, we give, stop. And that's what BYU did. They just said, no, you're not as good as we are. We're going to come out here early in the second half, and we're going to put it to you, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it. And Cincinnati couldn't do anything about it and didn't try, in my opinion. And that's what was disheartening. They just didn't try. I don't know. UC fans, you know better than me. I know the program. I know that everybody liked the coach going into the year. I'm not sure everybody does right now. So we'll see. We will see. I still believe that he's a good coach. Maybe it just takes some time. I don't know. But right now, UC's not playing well. There's time left in this season, clearly, to get back into this thing. But I just thought Cincinnati would be one of the teams in the upper echelon of this conference this year. And at this point, it does not look like that is going to happen. Tech over Oklahoma State on a game on Sunday. I don't like these one Sunday games that the Big 12 is doing. I don't like it at all, especially in the NFL battling it against that. I mean, what are we doing? But either way, look, Tech had this game in the bag. They were blowing Oklahoma State out early in the second half. I mean, not even early, middle of the second half. They're up 18 points, and they're smacking them around, and then they just let their foot completely off the gas. And give Oklahoma State credit, man. Now, that's a team that didn't quit. Cincinnati, you want to know the difference? Oklahoma State is getting destroyed on the road, and they say, you know what, we're not going to quit. And they get the game to a 3-point game late in the second half. And they fought all the way back. Didn't win, but they're fighting. And that's the difference. They're fighting in adversity, and you got to commend them for that. I do believe that Tech let off the gas. I think Tech is a superior team to them. I think Tech will be around near the end of the conference. I'm not saying they're necessarily going to win it, but I think they're going to be around at the end. I think they just got up. And sometimes, when you're playing a team that you're better than, you're more talented than, you get up and you just let off the gas. I mean, it happens. People are human. And I think that's what happened here. But again, give credit to Oklahoma State, too, for fighting. And Tech's got one more, and then their schedule kind of heats up again. They play TCU, and then it heats up again. But good win. Like I said, it was nothing out of the ordinary. I just thought they let their foot way off the gas, because I think if they press down on the gas, I think that goes to a 30-point game. So then the game of the weekend. Look, in my opinion, I think it was the game of the weekend in college basketball, and there were a few games that were really, really good in college basketball. That's why I love this time of year, man. It is heating up. And I know there's people that are still in NFL mode, and college football just ended. I get it. But if you're a college basketball junkie like myself, this is that time, man, where it's really starting to heat up. You're starting to see what teams are. Houston and KU, look, KU had the game won twice. And I say won. I mean, you're up 6 with a minute and a half to go at home. I feel like you should win that game, okay? You're up 6 with 18 seconds to go in overtime. I definitely think that you should be able to win that game. Both times, Houston fought back, and I think it's just a testament to how tough that they actually are. People talk about it all the time, and it seems like it's good talk for me as a podcaster and a fan. Oh, Houston's tough, and you hear that nationally on all the ESPNs and the Fox and all that. Oh, Houston, they're tough, and they take after Kelvin Sampson. Well, it's one thing to say it. It's another thing to actually watch it. And we watched that on Saturday at Allen Fieldhouse about how tough they were, because they could have folded. Like I said, they had nothing going for them. Down 6, a minute and a half to go. They could have folded, and they didn't. They just kept making plays. They just kept playing and kept making plays. Again, you're down 6 with 18 seconds to go. They didn't stop playing. They just, okay, let's go to the next play and let's make that play. Let's go to the next play and make that play. Just physically and, more importantly, mentally tough. I love that they went and won this game. This is the second time that they've had to fight it out on the road in back-to-back weekends. They went to UCF and did the same thing. But again, that shows the maturity and the mental toughness that they had, that we're not going to quit until the last buzzer sounds. Now, can you say that that's a part of Kelvin Sampson and what's he want out of his team? Absolutely you can. You definitely should say that. But again, it's one thing to just say it because you've heard somebody say it. It's another thing to actually watch it, and it's a thing of beauty in my mind. As far as KU is concerned, clearly KU is a better basketball team with Badunga in the lineup. Clearly. I know Self is loyal to guys. I know he wants to be loyal to KJ Adams. And when KJ Adams gets hurt, I'm sorry, Badunga has to have his minutes. Just end the story. Now, if you want to go back to the other way and put Adams back in there and give him 30 minutes a night, so be it. But KU's better when Badunga's playing those 30 minutes. Period. End of story. You got to go back to that. Look, this is not one of KU's most talented teams, man. It isn't. And I think that's what a lot of people are starting to understand is like, KU, this isn't a team that you think, oh, man, they got a bunch of NBA guys on their team. They may have one. That's the difference. They might have one, maybe two, but they're not littered full of guys that are just going to be getting drafted in the lottery like KU has had in the past. That's not what this team is. But they still fight. They don't shoot it well, but I think they just got to play more inside out. They got to use Dickerson. They got to use Badunga. If they use those two guys, that is their key to being able to win this season. That is the key. If not, and they try to shoot it, KU's going to lose. And they're going to lose a lot more than what people are expecting. But that's kind of what KU has been the last couple of years. So we'll see what happens the rest of the way. I suspect Bill Self is not going to just allow them to just not be at their best when the time comes. So when Adams comes back, I suspect that Badunga stays in the lineup. That's what I would guess, but maybe not. I don't know. If you're a KU fan, get in the comments and let me know, but I know what I watch, and when Badunga's in there, they're better. Better defender, catching law. He's just a better basketball player than Adams. That's not a knock. That's just saying who's better. And I think KU as a team is better. So, look, it was a good weekend. I loved exactly what happened. Like I said, things are starting to heat up. Big game tonight, man. Big game tonight. If it'll be on late for people in Central Standard Time, it'll be on a little later, so you're going to have to stay up a little late to catch the whole game. Do yourself a favor. Stay up a little later. Take an early nap if you need to when you get home from work or whatever it is. It's going to be a good basketball game, or it should be a good basketball game tonight at Arizona when Iowa State comes knocking. So it's an opportunity, again, for the conference to get a little bit more exposure. Monday night, nothing else going on. This is the biggest game, in my opinion, of the night. I think it's the biggest game of the night. I don't think there's any doubt about that, and it's in the Big 12. So good for us. So appreciate everybody again. As always, you guys showing up and showing out like you do. Continue to dive in the comments and let us know what you like, what you don't like. We appreciate you. We will holler at you soon.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.